name is Stephen Osei. I didn't really choose to be an entrepreneur. I think it's part of who I am. And the stage that I am now, I wouldn't really call myself an entrepreneur because I think it's a journey. I'm in the process of becoming an entrepreneur. I'm getting there, but I'm not there yet because it takes some processes before you can. I think people call themselves an entrepreneur when they don't really understand what it is about. But when you truly understand what an entrepreneur is, you would realize that it's a journey. And I have just started mine not too long ago, about 3 years into the journey. So I'm in the process of becoming an entrepreneur. My background is in technology, so I decided to take that route. I started a company in the technology space. So that is what my journey is about. And then I also have a media agency that I run alongside the technology company. Yeah. The name is called Acyst Technology. Okay. And it's, like I said, we do developments in, we come up with products in technology, those things that are related in technology. Yeah. Trusky is a product that we came up with. It's basically a mobile app that helps passengers make payments to drivers or mates when they are traveling, right? So it also has a scheduling system where you can book a seat on a bus, and then you meet the bus at a point, and it will take you. And then if you want a return trip, you can also book a return trip and the bus will bring you back. So it's basically a way of improving the trotro space, because we all know that space has not been disrupted in over 100 years. If you look at the history of trotro, it really started in the colonial days and it hasn't been changed. The whole trotro space has not been changed. So what we're trying to do basically is to bring some sanity in that space, because as we all know, the trotro space is very it's not what you can write home about. It really depends. People think that when you're an entrepreneur, you work all the time. It's not like that. It really depends on what you have to do. What I do is that when there is something to be done, I put all my intensity in that thing that needs to be done. So if it has to do with 3 hours of intensive work getting that thing out of my list, my to-do list, I just put all the energy in it and get it done. Apart from that, like I said, it's a journey. So when things come on, you try to be in a position to resolve those issues that come on. So I can't specifically say I work 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day. It depends on what is on my plate. So I like to work around from 12 midnight going. Now that I'm doing this full time. When I used to work that one, I didn't have control over my time. So I work in between the times where I get my free times from my employer. But now that I'm in this full time, I can choose to work at any time that I want. That is one freedom that you have as an entrepreneur. So my typical day, I just wake up in the morning, because I don't sleep early. Most of the time I sleep around 3 a.m. So I wake up around 8. I just look at my list of things that I have to do for the day, and then look at the ones that are really important and do those ones first. And then if I have to meet with someone, I go and meet the person. If I have to talk to my team about the things that we have to do for that day, I just lays all that information to them. So that's just typically how my day is. would say not much for me. I hear stories of people that entrepreneurship has affected their family life, but for me, it hasn't really affected that much. One of the things that I have been privileged is the freedom to do what I want. I don't have any pressures from home or from my family. Where when you are starting something new, people project their fears on you. How is it going to be like? You are working now, all of a sudden you are quitting your job and you want to do this, and we don't know what it's going to be like tomorrow, right? But fortunately for me, it's not my experience. My experience is I have the freedom to think and do the things that I want to do. So that's what I'm privileged from. No, for me, my job, I used to work with mechanical oil, and I really liked my job. There was no problem there at all. But like I said, when you are called to do something, there is so much delay that you can cause. So I remember we were in class. I was schooling at that time, and then my lecturer mentioned something around the Africa's Forbes 30 under 30, and then I went to look at the list and I saw one Ghanaian on the list, and I was like, how is it like Ghana has only one person? I mean, this is like 30 people and across Africa, and Ghana has only one person on it. So I always knew I had that tendencies of starting my own business. So, but that was like the breaking point for me. That was like, okay, now I have to do something. And the guy was like 24 years old, and I was older than the guy. I was like, this guy is 24 years and he has started and he's on this list. So, I mean, there is no time for me to delay anymore. So that was the breaking point for me. That was how I decided I was going to go into it full time. Sometimes my idea is about things that are personal. They are related to me. Trotsky, for instance, was very personal to me, because I remember when I'm going to work, and I have like only 50 cedis note on me, I feel uncomfortable giving that money to the maid, because they are always going to start bickering about why you are giving me, a bigger note. So I said, what if there is something that I can just use to wire the money to you, the amount I'm supposed to pay, instead of me giving you 50 cedis and risk forgetting the balance with you, or you telling me things that I don't want to hear in the morning for you to spoil my own morning. So those things that it was very personal and very relatable. So my ideas come sometimes through my personal experience, and it also happens to me sometimes, like when I'm working. I remember my first idea came to me when I was going to fetch water.
Okay.
Yeah, so it happens, depends on the situation that you find yourself in. Yeah. What other aspects? Well, the ultimate one is the freedom.
Okay.
But the freedom is, let me say, financial freedom, right? But that is not really the motivation. If that is, your number one motivation, you would just stop being an entrepreneur, because the money is not going to start coming probably like the next 5 years of starting. Because starting a business is like giving birth to a child. You have to nurture the child up to a certain point before the child can be useful to you, right? So the freedom to, and also I think my main motivation is contribution. How can I contribute to my country? How can I contribute in my society? So that's the number one thing that really moves me. How can I be of usefulness to, looking at my background, where I come from? How can someone look at me and say, this guy did it, so I can also do it? Those kind of things. But yes, the freedom part is very interesting, because now you get time to do the things that you want to do. If you are fortunate enough in what you come up with is able to generate revenue, and you are able to, get your financial freedom. That one also gives you some power to do certain things that you couldn't do before, because money helps in solving some problems in our lives. When you see people use what you make, that is the most satisfying of all. You sit down and then you come up with things, and then you see that it's being useful for people. I mean, there is no better feeling than that. So that has been my most satisfying. So, the definition of courage means that you see the fear, but you do the things you have to do anyway, right? So definitely, courage does not mean absence of fear. There is fear, but then you are doing it anyway. So we all have fears of so once I quit my job and I'm doing this full time, what are people going to say about me? What are my parents going to say? Because now I've taken that security of my life. Now I'm doing this. So there are fears, but then I think my courage supersedes that fear. So there are fears of failing, fears of what people think about what you are doing, fears of people not accepting what you are bringing to the market, right? Because you have this idea in your head, and it's beautiful in your own head, but then it's the market that's going to decide the worth of your idea, whether it's they are going to accept it or not. So all of those fears are there, but then you do it anyway. You shape your product or your service to the market anyway. I would say, first of all, get to know who you are. Be yourself. We are different people. Even though you may also have entrepreneurship tendencies like I do, but your approach of executing your idea may be different from my approach, right? So I would say that listen to advice, but filter those advice based on how you feel and how you see things. So don't just listen to somebody who has made it, maybe somebody in America who has made it and has no idea about the Ghanaian market, right? So you take the exact idea that the person gave you, you copy it and you come and paste it here. It might not work, and you might not think their ideas doesn't work. Somebody can give you advice based on their own experience, right? If I haven't experienced something, I can't give you advice on that. So people mostly give advice on their own experience. So I would say that get to know yourself first. Know the things that moves you, the things that does not move you, the things that make you angry, the things that does not make you angry. Just get to know who you are, right? And then after you have gotten to know who you are, there are certain things that are general. So if I'm giving somebody an advice, it would be the things that I classify as general advice, like working hard, being patient, being gentle. These are things that are general, that applies to everybody. So these are the things that I would tell someone. Just be patient, listen to advice, but filter the advice. Look for the ones that work for you and the ones that doesn't work for you. Don't just copy advice and paste it. So right now it's like I'm in the grinding process. Like I said, this is a process to being to get to the status of me proudly calling myself an entrepreneur. Because let's say I was working for someone and I decided to leave that security and come and do something on my own. So now I've become self-employed, right? Now to get to a point where, or let's say now I have a team, so there are people that I tell to do things, right? So now I'm more like in the process, or let's say I'm in the status of business ownership. I own a business. Getting to being an entrepreneur is where I'm heading to, which is I'll have processes and systems in place such that if I'm not around, the business can still run, right? The business does not run based on me being present. So I can take like 2 months for vacation, and my business can still run. And that is where I'm heading to. That is my goal. So I'm hoping that now that I'm in the grinding process, I'll get to that status where I don't have to work as hard, as much as I'm doing now, because as you are growing, your strength, is depleting. So I want to, in the next 5 years, or in the next 10 years, I want the company to be able to stand on its own, start generating money on its own by the processes and the systems that I've put in place, so that I will also have the freedom of probably raise my children or be with my family.
Get to know who you are. Be yourself. Listen to advice, but do well to filter that advice to suit you and your market audience.